Novel Navigator. Chapter 41, The Sword Essence. Ping. A cold sword shadow, at a very tricky angle, stabbed directly toward the golden gibbon, which was more than 2 meters tall. Covered in greenish-black scales, it dashed toward the shadow, using its giant arms that were notorious for their outrageous strength. The moment that the sword shadow was smashed and scattered, another 3 sword lights flashed almost simultaneously. It had already been 6 days since Jian Wushuang entered the dark forest. During his search in the dark forest over the past 5 days, he had undergone dozens of battles. Some of which were fiercely dangerous, especially when battling against spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm and the exceptional transforming sea realm. Compared to 5 days ago, his swordsmanship appeared much sharper and he had gained much more fighting experience. Except for the one battle in the gladiator arena, Jian Wushuang had grown up training in Sword Marquee Mansion. He had no previous fighting experience with anyone before that. But now, his previous disadvantage in experience was being made up for. Clang! The fleeting and flickering shiny sword edge eluded the golden gibbon's eyes, directly puncturing its throat with an amazing piercing force. Rumbling. Its blood continued to spew out as its huge body instantly fell down. Great, that is the 7th spirit beast in the profound transforming sea realm that you have killed these last few days, said Sima Buletin, walking up with a smile. Your spiritual power still needs to improve some more before it can reach the exceptional transforming sea realm, but your swordsmanship has become more refined after several days of fighting. I still have a long way to go, said Jian Wushuang, shaking his head without any sense of pride. I'm still far from having enough fighting experience. By virtue of my mastery in swordsmanship, I can now get rid of some inexperienced spirit beasts in the profound transforming sea realm. However, I have to flee instantly once I encounter stronger spirit beasts because I'm still unable to use my strength to the fullest. If only I were more experienced in battle and more adept at swordsmanship, said Jian Wushuang, holding his hands tightly. Don't aim too high. After all, you are not even in the exceptional transforming sea realm, yet you already have such awesome battle strength, said Sima Buletin. Then he suddenly added, these days, I've noticed that you're highly gifted in swordsmanship, and I have something that might be useful to you. I am giving it to you for Jiwu's sake. Sima Buletin immediately turned his right hand upward, unfolding a yellow wire-bound book. What? Said Jian Wushuang with a little surprise, then he stared at the gold ring that was always on the ring finger of Sima Buletin's right hand. Is that an interspatial ring? He asked suspiciously. Just as its name suggested, an interspatial ring contained a separate space for holding things. There was nothing else in his hand, but how did the book appear as he flipped his hand over? It went without saying that it must have been an interspatial ring. You're right, it's an interspatial ring, said Sima Buletin with a smile. Presented by Gold Dragon Palace, called the Gold Dragon Ring, and symbolizing the Gold Dragon Guard. If you're interested in this and go there by any chance, you'll be given a Gold Dragon Ring by Gold Dragon Palace only after you complete the task to become a Gold Dragon Guard. Really? Jian Wushuang became excited. Anyway, I obtained this book by chance. First, you should read it carefully, as you can benefit from what this expert in sword principles had learned. By the way, he is a supreme expert in the yin-yang void realm, said Sima Buletin. Insight into sword principles from an expert? And left by a supreme expert, asked Jian Wushuang with a serious look. The 7 ranks of the spirit path, the transcending sea realm, the primordial gold core realm, and the yin-yang void realm. Among these, the primordial gold core realm already linked to the strongest, the yin-yang void realm, and a supreme expert, who was also rare in the whole Tianzong dynasty. Was it sword principle insights left by such a supreme expert? Jian Wushuang immediately took the book and began to read it carefully. It did not mention the name of the supreme expert, but it spoke of his insights in sword principle, as well as his views related to swordsmanship. Sword principle can be broken into two parts. Sword arts, which are merely the form of swordsmanship, and sword essence, which is required for real swordsmanship. Combining both will give you insight into sword principle. In fact, that book respectively introduced sword principle, starting with the sword arts chapter, then progressing to the second chapter, sword essence. Jian Wushuang first absorbed the sword arts chapter. If a swordsman depends on sophisticated, but formal, and stiff, sword arts, there is no difference for him between normal and average sword arts. While an expert can easily surpass his rivals, even if they are thousands of times stronger than him, as long as he is more adept at using his sword arts, and even if his sword arts are of a lower class. The pages of the sword arts chapter could be counted on one's fingers. And all they spoke of was the common sense of sword principle. But what made the book different, lay in the fact that its creator seemed to despise all sword arts in the universe. He even held the belief that sword arts were insignificant to sword principle. This senior seems biased against sword arts. Admittedly, I do agree with his view on various sword arts, but not on his thoughts that sword arts mean nothing to a warrior and can be ignored, Jian Wushuang thought. His training began with sword arts at an early age, and he believed that it very helpful to a warrior. After all, it was sword arts that had defeated Jian Menger and Ye Mo in the sword marquee token battle. And, it was also sword arts that helped him battle spirit beasts of the exceptional transforming sea realm in the dark forest, even making it possible to kill those beasts in the end. Without sword arts, he would, at most, have only been a match for spirit beasts at the peak of the profound transforming sea realm by virtue of his unique heavenly creation skill. Even then, it is uncertain who would have won. Shaking his head secretly, Jian Wushuang turned his eyes to the sword essence chapter instead of the sword arts chapter. Sword essence was divided into two sections as well. In one, sword principle was used to accompany and enhance one's swordsmanship. Stronger swordsmanship means stronger sword essence. In the second section, sword essence was used to shape the essences of heaven and earth through comprehension. There are many essences in the universe, including the immense earth, raging flames, and the wind, everywhere in our lives. They are all part of the strength of the universe and nature. These essences can be shaped by using one's sword essence and greatly sharpening one's swordsmanship through comprehension. Upon reaching a high enough level, any move with his sword can surpass both first-class sword arts and even legendary sword arts. There are many different kinds of sword essence, such as the sword essence of gale, the sword essence of raging fire, the sword essence of earth, and sword essence of the water drop. The contents of the sword essence chapter were more sophisticated and detailed than the plain introduction in the sword arts chapter. And, Jian Wushuang was totally immersed in its contents. Chapter 42, Sword Essence of Gale. After obsessively reading the contents of the sword essence chapter, word for word, from beginning to end, Jian Wushuang finally raised his head and breathed deeply, with a hint of shock in his eyes. "How is it going?" Sima Buledin asked. "Very good, especially the chapter on sword essence." Jian Wushuang nodded his head and said seriously, "When my father was teaching me swordsmanship, he mentioned sword essence. But I didn't understand what sword essence really indicated until now. I finally know that sword essence is formed by comprehending the essence of heaven and earth. Yes, in fact, it is a matter of understanding and using the natural power of heaven and earth. Watch this." Sima Buledin said, then smiled, and abruptly pulled out the saber at his waist, immediately attacking a rock that was several meters away. A sharp crack appeared on the rock and a large amount of rubble fell. "I didn't use the essences of heaven and earth just now, but now, I will try again with the essence of heaven and earth. Make sure you watch." Immediately, Sima Buledin split the rock again. Jian Wushuang sensed a strong and fiery power this time when the rock was attacked. Was that the essence of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang's heartbeat quickened. Peng! The rock shattered and a large amount of rubble fell. Jian Wushuang was astonished to see such a large difference. The difference was humongous. One attack only caused a crack in the rock while the other blew the entire rock into pieces. Is this the difference between a normal attack and an attack using the essence of heaven and earth? Jian Wushuang asked. That's right. The essences of heaven and earth are the powers of nature, which can be guided by both sword warriors and blade warriors. However, I have only mastered superficial knowledge. Otherwise, the power would have been much stronger, said Sima Buledin. Actually, for warriors, they would try to master essences of heaven and earth after reaching the gold core realm. Once he mastered a hint of sword essence or blade essence, his strength would explode. Once, I met a super genius who was talented in swordsmanship, like you. At that time, he had just entered the gold core realm, but he had deep comprehension in 3 different sword essences at the same time, which helped him to kill an expert warrior at the exceptional gold core realm. What? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Everyone knows, the distance in power between each level only gets larger as their strength progresses. The distance between the initial gold core realm and the exceptional gold core realm was so large that even a genius who possessed a heaven-defying cultivation method, like the heavenly creation skill, still couldn't compare with someone at the exceptional gold core realm. However, because that exceptional genius reached a high level of understanding in sword essences, he was able to kill someone in the exceptional gold core realm with only 1 stroke. Just a single stroke. Sword essence is that terrifying? Jian Wushuang asked in shock. Your spiritual power is still too low to progress to the gold core realm, but after these few days, I noticed that you are very talented in swordsmanship. So, I decided to give you this book in the hope that you can learn sword essence earlier. It depends on whether you yourself can actually comprehend it, Sima Buledin said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. When he saw the chapter on sword essence, he knew there was a large difference: someone who comprehended the essences of heaven and earth and someone who did not. He was full of longing and expectation towards the essence realm of heaven and earth. And that chapter also introduced the methods for comprehending the essences of heaven and earth in great detail. Even after this day, Jian Wushuang continued searching and battling with powerful spirit beasts at the profound transforming sea realm and exceptional transforming sea realm in the dark forest. But obviously, he spent more time studying sword essence than he had previously. Inside an open canyon of the dark forest, Jian Wushuang stood alone with his eyes closed and his long sword held out. He had been holding this position for half an hour. With the breeze whisking by his body repeatedly, he quietly attempted to feel the power of the wind in the surrounding the area. The wind is invisible, but ubiquitous. Unexpectedly, the long sword in his hand began to sweep slowly upwards. Very slowly, very lightly, each move followed the strength of the wind that flowed in the surrounding area. With a trace of a smile on his face, Jian Wushuang very clearly sensed the power of the surrounding wind, as well as the lightness of the wind. Gradually, a trace of enlightenment grew in his heart as the speed of his sword increased. At this time, Sima Buledin was sitting arbitrarily on a rock near the open space. Occasionally, Jian Wushuang would glance in his direction. This kid has begun to ponder sword essence, but is it so easy to comprehend? Sima Mabu shook his head and could not help laughing in the heart. One must know that to comprehend the blade essence of raging fire, he had ventured alone to a desolate and huge volcano. He lived there for a full 3 years, day and night, feeling the turbulent flames. Finally, he grasped a trace of the blade essence of raging fire, which was considered very lucky compared to the unfortunate experts in the gold core realm who worked hard their whole life without ever being able to feel a trace of the essence realm of heaven and earth. Even though Jian Wushuang was born with talent in sword principle, it would still take a long time for him to comprehend sword essence. But, at this moment, how is that possible? Sima Buledin looked up unexpectedly, feeling completely astonished by what he was seeing. Jian Wushuang was still practicing his swordsmanship at this moment, but the speed of his sword gradually became surprisingly fast, so much that even Sima Buledin could only see the flickering sword light. He is drawing his sword so quickly. And he is doing it freestyle, without using sword arts. Ah! Sima Buledin was shocked. He did not use sword arts to enhance the speed, like the Aurora sword art or flowing light sword art. He was just practicing freestyle, but it was still so fast. What does it mean? The sword flows with the wind becomes the sword. The sword principle of Gale. He comprehended it. Sima Buledin was dumbstruck immediately. Note that it was only yesterday when he gave the book to Jian Wushuang. Also, he only learned of the existence of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Today he comprehended the sword principle of Gale from the essences of heaven and earth. What speed is that? Chapter 43, Incredible Comprehension. Whoosh! Sword light flashed at an amazingly fast speed, just like a fish swimming in the water, shifting around naturally. It was quite a bit later when Jian Wushuang finally stopped practicing. Kid, I think I am beginning to understand why Bloodfeather Tower chased you in such a crazy manner, Sima Buledin said to him with a complex look on his face. To be honest, I have to admit that you are an exceptional genius. You have grasped the sword principle of Gale today even though you just learned of the essence realm of heaven and earth yesterday. Your talent completely outmatches the exceptional genius I mentioned to you earlier. If I'm not mistaken, although your natural talent is good, part of it must have to do with your awakening of the sword soul. Sword soul. Jian Wushuang felt a tremor in his heart, then nodded, quietly approving. Indeed, when practicing his swordsmanship, he also realized that something inside him helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth. Even though it was difficult for others, he could easily grasp the sword essence of Gale. But what was it inside him that helped him comprehend the essences of heaven and earth? Undoubtedly, it must be because of his sword soul awakening. Sword soul. Something that drove Bloodfeather Tower to chase after him desperately. Naturally, it must be extraordinary. It was due to the sword soul that he could immediately and swiftly comprehend a trace of the sword essence of Gale. Anyhow, I have already grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale. With it, my swordsmanship should be several times or even dozens of times more skillful than before. Jian Wushuang thought with a bright look in his eyes. Only a trace of sword essence of Gale could easily make his sword several times faster once it was integrated into his swordsmanship. Such an increase in speed also helped sharpen his swordsmanship, greatly contributing to its piercing force. It would cause his level of swordsmanship to increase immensely. Let me test it against a spirit beast first. Jian Wushuang thought quietly. Shortly after, he fought with a huge iron-backed bear. Its force was extremely dreadful and absolutely the most formidable spirit beast in the exceptional transforming sea realm. If he had encountered this huge iron-backed bear before grasping a trace of the sword essence of Gale, Jian Wushuang would have had no choice but to flee in a disorderly manner. However, now he did not even show a trace of fear. Kill! After releasing a low howl, with his eyes blazing like torches, Jian Wushuang waved his sword. Sword light flashed out across the air for several meters before finally striking the huge body of the iron-backed bear directly. The sword light was so fleeting that the iron-backed bear didn't even realize its body had been injured at first. Instantly, a flood of fresh blood poured out from the sword scar on its body. Though the sword scar was nothing to its huge body and strong defense, it was definitely enough to enrage the iron-backed bear. Howl! The howl from the iron-backed bear's mouth echoed in the surroundings. Its two giant feet stamped on the ground as it made great strides towards Jian Wushuang. Every step forward produced a minor tremor. Go to hell, human! The dark golden eyes of the iron-backed bear were a bloody color and its desire to kill Jian Wushuang increased dramatically. Ha ha, come on! Jian Wushuang began to laugh loudly while moving his sword to fight against it. After a while, a cold and dazzling sword light directly penetrated its defense and plunged into its throat. Iron-backed bears are formidable in both power and defense, but their speed is very slow. Now that I have grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, I can easily surpass it in speed. There is no chance for it to resist against my absolute advantage in speed. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly. Iron-backed bears, the most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Now, they could easily be slain by Jian Wushuang. Continue. Next, the tests progressed forward as he battled one formidable spirit beasts after another. Such as purple crystal-winged lions, phantom foxes, gibbon-shaped wolverines, 9 poisons pythons and so on. The most formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm became the opponents of Jian Wushuang and were eventually killed by him. Time flew by. It had already been 1 month since Jian Wushuang entered the dark forest. The dark forest covered an abundantly immense area, stretching across 2 provinces. Although he had already traveled for a month, Jian Wushuang still had a long way to go before he would reach the Tianese province. With his hands crossed, in the darkness of the forest, Sima Buletin gravely stared at Jian Wushuang, who was practicing his swordsmanship in front of him. In his eyes, he could clearly perceive that every one of Jian Wushuang's extremely heavy moves interacted and integrated with the earth. Sword essence of earth. He has just grasped a trace of the sword essence of Gale, but in less than a month after that, he seems to have also grasped the sword essence of earth. Unbelievable, it's really unbelievable. It shocked Sima Buletin to his core. It was really incredible for him to simultaneously grasp 2 kinds of sword essence within a month. However, this made Sima Buletin much more curious about sword soul. What on earth is sword soul? And how did it create such a monster? It wasn't long before Jian Wushuang finished practicing his swordsmanship. Earth, warm and heavy. The sword essence of earth is exactly like this. Jian Wushuang forced a smile and rejoiced. He himself didn't expect to grasp the sword essence as easily as he did today. He grasped sword principle of Gale earlier, but only 1 month later he had also grasped a trace of the sword essence of earth. For his part, that must be the result of the sword soul. Great progress had been made in his swordsmanship in the past month. First, his cultivation had reached the peak of the 9th heaven of the divine path after 1 month's worth of life and death fighting and day and night cultivation. His current level was comparable to when he used the soul-taking secret skill to fight against Yemo. At its peak, the 9th heaven of the divine path was equivalent to the exceptional transforming sea realm. Secondly, his swordsmanship, and especially his fighting experience, had made greater progress. Now, without a doubt, he was completely experienced in fighting. As for sword essence, he learned more tricks in the sword essence of Gale and became more skilled and flexible in the practice and use of sword essence. But more importantly, he also apprehended a trace of the sword essence of earth just now. It must be acknowledged that he had grasped 2 different sword essences of nature in this short amount of time. Characterized by its flexibility and fastness, the sword essence of Gale could make sword arts and piercing force much more powerful. As for the sword essence of earth, it was boundless and tremendous due to its heaviness and steadiness. If used perfectly and flexibly, these 2 sword essences could make his sword arts more dreadful and formidable. After a month of cultivating and fighting, I have killed numerous spirit beasts easily. Even the formidable spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm are not considered a threat to me, so. Exposing a cold look in his eyes, Jian Wushuang made a decision in his mind. Chapter 44, Bloody Moon Devil Wolf. What? You are going to fight against spirit beasts in the Gold Core realm? Sima Buletin looked at Jian Wushuang with astonishment. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded. Just as water naturally runs downhill, he aspired to fight against stronger spirit beasts, ones in the Gold Core realm, to practice his swordsmanship. It was a fact that spirit beasts in the exceptional transforming sea realm couldn't pose a threat to him. Despite the big difference between the Gold Core realm and transforming sea realm, Jian Wushuang was still confident in his strength. As we all know, the peak of the ninth heaven of the divine path could rival the spiritual power of the exceptional transforming sea realm. With his sword arts as well as the sword essences of both gale and earth, he had the ability to fight with spirit beasts in the gold core realm. Brother Buledin, don't worry about me. With my current strength, I can fight against the weaker spirit beasts in the gold core realm. Even if I can't beat them, I can escape. If I can't escape, I can count on you, said Jian Wushuang with a smile. In the past 1 month, he got along well with Sima Buledin, who always gave him references and guidance from nearby when he was fighting with spirit beasts. Jian Wushuang appreciated that very much. Alright, I still want to remind you that spirit beasts in the gold core realm are so powerful that you may be killed by them before I can help you out. You must be careful when you confront them, Sima Buledin advised repeatedly. Certainly, I won't risk my life, said Jian Wushuang while smiling. Then he began to search for nearby spirit beasts at the gold core realm. Spirit beasts at the transforming sea realm in the dark forest were everywhere, but those in the gold core realm were rare. During the last month, they only met several spirit beasts at the gold core realm, and once meeting them, they chose to escape instead of fighting. Jian Wushuang searched for them for a long time, but he failed to find one at the gold core realm on the first day. However, he found a spirit beast already in the profound gold core realm the next day. Even though it was barely in the profound gold core realm, fighting against it was like playing with fire, so he decided to give up. Jian Wushuang didn't find a suitable spirit beast in the gold core realm to fight with until the third day. It's a bloody moon devil wolf. Staring at the more than 1 meter high, dark red devil wolf, whose whole body seemed to have been bathed in blood, Jian Wushuang desperately desired to fight it. Human beings. Just like Jian Wushuang, the dark red eyes of the bloody moon devil wolf also stared at him. Stronger spirit beasts are also much wiser. This bloody moon devil wolf in the gold core realm was as intelligent as a human being, so it could also feel Jian Wushuang's burning desire to fight. You, a small ant, who has not even reached the gold core realm, how dare you fight with me? Go to hell. With a sudden release of all his strength, the bloody moon devil wolf moved so fast that only a bloody shadow was left in the air. Wearing a serious look, Jian Wushuang used his long sword against the bloody moon devil wolf right when its shadow flashed. Jian Wushuang used a mysterious angle to both stab and block the shadow of the bloody moon devil wolf as soon as its dark red shadow emerged. Immediately, an angry howl was released by the bloody moon devil wolf, accompanied by a wave of sound, easily bouncing his long sword back. What? Jian Wushuang said with astonishment. A mere howl was able to deflect his sword art. Aurora sword art. After a cold humph, Jian Wushuang released all his strength and produced many sword shadows at almost the same time. His sword arts, mixed with a trace of sword principle of gale, made the sword shadows flash at lightning speed. Thump, thump, thump. The sky was almost filled with the whistling sword light. The bloody moon devil wolf suddenly attacked Jian Wushuang with its extremely sharp claws, which seemed to be able to split the void in two. Peng. Instantly, all the sword shadows disappeared. At the same time, a formidable force was released from the bloody moon devil wolf and transmitted to Jian Wushuang through his long sword, causing him to shiver unconsciously. It's so powerful that its force alone is enough to block me. Jian Wushuang looked serious. Watch out, yelled Sima Buledin, who was watching and standing in a nearby treetop. Jian Wushuang instantly noticed that the bloody moon devil wolf had already opened its mouth, showing its sharp and bloody fangs, and was preparing to bite off his head. Fuck off. Along with an angry shout, Jian Wushuang moved his triple kill sword to generate a kind of heavy boundlessness. He integrated sword essence into his attack and used the sword essence of earth to angrily chop at the bloody moon devil wolf, finally making it step back. Anonymous sword art, blood shadow. With his eyes full of killing intent, Jian Wushuang instantly performed the first move of the anonymous sword arts. His use of the anonymous sword art was more powerful after grasping sword essence. The cold and sharp sword light flashed quickly as the bloody moon devil wolf abruptly lunged at him. Ding! A low crash sounded. Then, Jian Wushuang tried to stabilize his body after being repelled. Sword killing movement. Jian Wushuang released his most powerful killing blow without any hesitation. Showing an angry look in its dark red eyes, the bloody moon devil wolf suddenly stretched out its cold and sharp claws. Clang! A low metal sound crashed, then there was a huge sword scar on the bloody moon devil wolf's paw, from which blood continuously poured out. After staring at Jian Wushuang with its dark red eyes, it shrank down into a blood shadow and fled directly into the jungle, where it disappeared. It escaped. While looking in the direction the bloody moon devil wolf fled, Jian Wushuang withdrew his long sword and displayed a strange expression. "Kid, are you okay?" Sima Buledin came over to him and asked. "I'm fine." Jian Wushuang shook his head, but he couldn't help looking at his right hand that was holding his long sword. Actually, he still felt a shiver in his palm. "It is worthy of being called a gold core realm spirit beast, it's much more powerful than me. Though I wounded it with my sword-killing movement during the fight, it also hurt me with the formidable power from its paws," Jian Wushuang murmured. "Kid, you did quite well. You repelled it by using your sword arts. As a spirit beast at the gold core realm, it is definitely more powerful than you," Sima Buledin said. "Still not good enough," Jian Wushuang said without any sense of satisfaction. "My swordsmanship still needs to improve, and I'm not flexible enough when using the sword principles of both Gale and Earth. If I could use the third move of the anonymous sword arts, or perfectly combine the sword principles of Gale and Earth, integrating one into the other, I wouldn't have panicked in that fight. Alright, let's continue like this." Jian Wushuang continued practicing his swordsmanship while heading towards his destination. Time flew and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Jian Wushuang and Sima Buledin had spent 4 months, 3 months added to the previous month, walking through the dark forest before they finally reached the other side. Chapter 45, Gold Dragon Palace. On the official road to the dark forest in Tianese province. "Boy, in front of you is Qingdong City." Due to its proximity to the dark forest, the forces of Qingdong City became entangled. Some of them may be the forces of Gold Dragon Palace and, of course, there are also some spies from Blood Feather Tower. Because of this, you need to keep a low profile when you go into the city. Sima Buledin took a conical straw hat from his gold dragon ring, handing it to Jian Wushuang. Carrying the long sword, Jian Wushuang, whose clothes were in tatters, took it and wore it without hesitation. Compared to 4 months ago when he just entered the dark forest, Jian Wushuang obviously appeared a little calmer and his skin had also turned much darker. Because of this, his innocent appearance had vanished. In the city, Jian Wushuang wore a conical straw hat that slightly covered his face. Although he knew that Qingdong City was already within the region of Tianese province, and the intelligence system of Blood Feather Tower was certainly not as good as Tianyang province, Jian Wushuang was still cautious. Led by Sima Buledin, the two quickly arrived in front of a magnificent loft. A gold dragon hovered over the rooftops of the gigantic loft, in front of which 2 men were standing there coldly. Then Sima Buledin brought Jian Wushuang inside. A large number of warriors were in the loft and most of them, like Sima Buledin, were wearing a gold ring, apparently symbolizing that they were gold dragon guards. "Boy, wait for me for a while. I'm going to turn in the task," Sima Buledin said. "Okay." Jian Wushuang nodded and then slightly raised his head, looking around at those gold dragon guards, who seemed to be drinking wine and chatting very casually. Yet, he could feel their subtle killing intent. Brother Buledin was right. Gold dragon guards, all of them are dangerous killers, who often engage in life and death struggles. Jian Wushuang whispered. It took more than 4 months to finally fulfill the task. Sima Buledin came back to where Jian Wushuang was, carrying a pot of wine. Then he said, "Boy, I took the task in the first place for the purpose of helping Ji Wu. As for bringing you, it was just out of convenience. Now my mission has been completed, so from here on you are on your own. Thank you for all your help in these 4 months, Brother Buledin." Jian Wushuang nodded with gratitude deep down inside. Sima Buledin really gave him a lot of assistance, and Jian Wushuang secretly kept that favor in mind. "Haha, it's nothing." "Oh, yes. What do you intend to do next?" Sima Buledin looked at him and asked. "I want to be a gold dragon guard," Jian Wushuang said directly. "Oh." Sima Buledin smiled, and said with a raised brow, "I knew that was the choice you would make. Gold Dragon Guard is an occupation that walks on the edge of life and death, making it easier to hone real experts, dangerous as it is. Besides, judging from your actions in the dark forest, your craziness makes you suitable to be a Gold Dragon Guard. However, the Gold Dragon Guard is divided into several different levels, such as 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard, 2-clawed Gold Dragon Guard, 3-clawed Gold Dragon Guard, and Golden Dragon Ambassador, which is the highest level. Considering your current strength, at most, you can complete the task required to become a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard." "Yes, I see," said Jian Wushuang while nodding. Jian Wushuang often asked Buledin about a variety of things those 4 months in the dark forest. Naturally, that included questions about the Gold Dragon Guard. Gold Dragon Guard was an occupation with high requirements. To even become a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard, the lowest level, one must at least reach the peak of the profound transforming sea realm. In addition, to become a Gold Dragon Guard, you had to complete a task assigned by Gold Dragon Palace. These tasks were extremely difficult and the chance of failure was high. With your current strength, as long as you are careful and not too impulsive, you have the ability to complete the task and become a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard. It isn't supposed to be difficult." Sima Buledin laughed. Witnessing Jian Wushuang's growth, step by step, for 4 months, Sima Buledin was definitely aware of his strength. "Follow me, I'll take you to sign up and accept the task of a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard," said Sima Buledin. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then Sima Buledin brought him to the counter in the attic, in front of which was a grey-robed elder with silver hair and half squinting his eyes, who looked like he might fall asleep. "Mr. Huo," said Sima Buledin with reverence. "My little brother wants to take on the task of a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard." The old man in grey looked up slightly, glancing at Jian Wushuang with his half-squinting eyes, and said indifferently, "What's your name?" "With regard to my name," Jian Wushuang touched his nose, the corners of his mouth curling upwards as he said, "Just call me Swordsman." "Swordsman." Sima Buledin cast a glance at Jian Wushuang and burst out in laughter. "Take this token and come here again 3 days from now." The grey-robed elder threw a wooden token with a gold dragon mark to Jian Wushuang and then turned around without giving Jian Wushuang a second glance. "Is it that simple?" Jian Wushuang took the wooden token with great surprise. "What do you think?" "Go," said Sima Buledin, smiling as they walked back. "This is Mr. Buledin, right? Haven't seen you for many years." "I didn't expect to meet you here today," said someone, with a clear and unpleasant tone of voice. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang saw a black-robed man with a cold face and bird eyes coming over, followed by a purple-haired man. "Zhu Tao." Sima Buledin picked his eyebrow, coldly smiling as he said, "Long time no see." Zhu Tao, his bird eyes flashing with a ray of coldness, then looked to the grey-robed elder by the counter. "Mr. Huo, this is my disciple, Dongfang Yu. He is here to accept the task of a 1-clawed Gold Dragon Guard," Zhu Tao said humbly. "Take this token and come back here in 3 days." The grey-robed elder still spoke coldly and also gave the purple-haired man a wooden token with the gold dragon mark. Zhu Tao turned around and his eyes swept the room, only to see the wooden token in the hands of Jian Wushuang. The corners of his mouth quirked up as he said indifferently, "Mr. Bulletin, the one who is behind you is your disciple? It seems that he has already taken the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard, too. What a coincidence. This is one of my little brothers, called Swordsman, not my disciple," Sima Bulletin said directly. "Is he not your disciple?" Zhu Tao was laughing, then turned around and looked at the purple-robed man. "My disciple, this is your great master, Mr. Bulletin, whom I often mentioned, and the one next to him is one of his little brothers. You may as well say hello to his little brother. After all, you are going to work together to accomplish the one-clawed gold dragon guard mission." "Yes." The purple-robed man nodded, then looked directly at Jian Wushuang. The corners of his mouth at this moment quirked up as he said, "Swordsman? My name is Dongfang Yu. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me." Chapter 46, Dongfang Yu. Fight with you. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and felt a little worried. Sima Bulletin said in a low voice, "Zhu Tao has a history with me and holds a grudge. His strength is not as good as mine, so he does not dare to come to me in person, only sending his disciple to make trouble for you. Just ignore him." "Is that so?" Jian Wushuang knew the reason. While glancing at Dongfang Yu, he shook his head and said, "Sorry, I'm not interested." "How come? Could it be said that the person Mr. Bulletin brought here is a coward?" Dongfang Yu said with a cold smile and a loud voice, attracting the attention of the gold dragon guards in the loft. The gold dragon guards looked in their direction and immediately revealed a look of interest. As so many people stared at Jian Wushuang suddenly, he pressed down his conical straw hat with a grim face. "Zhu Tao, what do you mean by this?" Sima Bulletin shouted with a cold voice. "Nothing. I just did not expect that the person Mr. Bulletin brought here was so arrogant. Whatever the outcome is, we are going to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard together 3 days from now. He is too supercilious to even greet me," replied Zhu Tao, with a sneer. "Well, do you mean that no matter who challenge us, we must take it? In that case, I challenge you now. I wonder if you have the courage to fight with me." Sima Bulletin said with a deep voice. "Ha ha, Mr. Bulletin is making a fun of me. Everyone knows your strength." "I dare not fight with you," Zhu Tao said casually. "Joking." Sima Bulletin comprehended a glimmer of the blade essence of raging fire. He was even a 3-clawed gold dragon guard and he was at the peak of the primordial gold core realm. Sima Bulletin was obviously much stronger than Zhu Tao. "Swordsman, will you always hide behind Mr. Bulletin? Being such a coward, what qualification do you have to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard?" Dongfang Yu said with a sneering smile. "You're right." Jian Wushuang suddenly looked up with a slight smile. "If it is just a greeting, I have no reason to refuse." "Please." Jian Wushuang. Sima Bulletin looked over in surprise. "Don't worry. I know what to do," Jian Wushuang said with a quieter voice. Jian Wushuang accepted the challenge and it was decided the fighting area would just be the open space of the central hall. In the area with a coverage of dozens of square meters, stood Jian Wushuang and Dongfang Yu, with a large number of gold dragon guards nearby, happily watching. While standing there, with a long black stick in his hand, Dongfang Yu exuded a soaring aura. "Long staff." Jian Wushuang's expression changed as he drew the triple kill sword. "Boy, be careful." Dongfang Yu smiled, followed by a quick move, then he instantly rushed over. At this moment, the long stick in his hands turned into a shining black light. "So slow." Jian Wushuang saw Dongfang Yu rushing straight over, but he didn't take it seriously. In fact, Dongfang Yu's burst of speed from the exceptional transforming sea realm was very fast, but compared with Jian Wushuang who comprehended a trace of the sword essence of Gale, it was indeed a bit too slow. Though it was slow, the power was not weak. I'll use him to put on a good show. Jian Wushuang faintly smiled and suddenly swung the triple kill sword, releasing a whistling sword light that divided the air. Clang! The triple kill sword directly collided with that shining black light, making a low-pitched percussion sound. And then the dark light turned into a huge snake, twisting in the air before instantly changing back into the form of a stick, aiming to hit him. What? Jian Wushuang seemed to panic as he hurriedly waved the sword to block. But he was still hit by the stick, causing his body and knees to bow. What's more, the serpent form lengthened unexpectedly, as if a large fierce-looking mouth was ferociously opening to bite Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang placed the triple kill sword horizontally across his chest with great effort. Peng! A low noise was heard as Jian Wushuang was knocked back, retreating directly to the edge of the open space to keep his balance. Moreover, a trace of blood spilled from his mouth at this moment. What a piece of trash you are! Dongfang Yu placed the stick upright and said with an indifferent look, you can't even take 3 attacks from my stick, yet you want to complete the task of a one-clawed gold dragon guard. Ridiculous. After he finished talking, Dongfang Yu did not bother to glance at Jian Wushuang. Instead, he went toward his great master, Zhu Tao, both looking at each other with a subtle smile. Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. His stick technique is very strong. Besides, his cultivation has also reached the peak of the exceptional transforming sea realm. Also, his cultivation method seems unusual and his release of spiritual power was obviously much stronger than the average warrior in the exceptional transforming sea realm. Where did you find such a good disciple? Gold Dragon guards acquainted with Zhu Tao were talking with their sights focused on him and Dongfang Yu, but no one even glanced at Jian Wushuang. After all, in this world, the strong will always be honored. Since Jian Wushuang was defeated and could not even ward off 3 strokes, naturally he could not attract the attention of these Gold Dragon guards. Haha! I'm telling you guys the truth, my disciple is the son of my old friend, and he indeed has a bit of talent. I would like to seize the opportunity to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one recommended him, Zhu Tao said with a laugh. Dragon Palace. You intend to send him to Dragon Palace, but no one will recommend him. Haha. Zhu Tao, your disciple is really good. The Gold Dragon Palace was very noisy because many of the Gold Dragon guards were talking about topics related to Dragon Palace. Jian Wushuang, whom no one noticed, left the crowd's attention quietly, coming to Sima Buletin. Sima Buletin, who was drinking alone by the table, threw the wine pot to Jian Wushuang when he saw him coming over. Take a sip, Sima Buletin said. Jian Wushuang caught the wine flask and took a drink without hesitation. He had learned to drink from Sima Buletin in the dark forest during the last 4 months. Now, when drinking, he felt comfortable tasting the tangy and piquant flavor. Refreshing, Jian Wushuang could not help commenting. You could have beaten him head-on, so why lose deliberately? Sima Buletin laughed with a lowered voice. Though others did not know the strength of Jian Wushuang, Sima Buletin was fully aware of it. Apparently, Jian Wushuang lost the fight on purpose. This is, after all, a branch palace of the Gold Dragon Palace. The more people, the more interference. Hence, there may be some spies from Blood Feather Tower. I have to keep a low profile. As it is now, everyone will focus their attention on Dongfang Yu, so no one will pay attention to me. Isn't that good? Jian Wushuang said and laughed. Haha, I understand your intention. But, don't you feel embarrassed being defeated by Dongfang Yu in front of so many people, with only 3 strokes? Sima Buletin asked again. Compared with my life, losing face is of little significance. Jian Wushuang said, grinning and continuing to drink with his head raised. Chapter 47, Dragon Palace. Having experienced the betrayal of Jian Meng'er and the pursuit from Blood Feather Tower, Jian Wushuang had become more mature and prudent. He understands when to be tolerant and keep a low profile. Taking the battle with Dongfang Yu as an example, if he failed, he would lose face, but if he won, all the people would pay attention to him, and then the rate of exposure for his identity would increase significantly. Well, Brother Bulletin, do you know anything regarding the Dragon Palace these people have been talking about? Jian Wushuang asked. Dragon Palace. When Sima Bulletin spoke about Dragon Palace, his expression was full of obvious desire. That is the Holy Land for Gold Dragon Palace as well as the Tianzong dynasty. It is a gathering of real talents. It was said that there are countless treasures, like cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Lots of things that can't be obtained in Tianzong dynasty can be found in Dragon Palace. At the same time, there is a variety of strong and legendary people in the Yin-Yang Void realm. Anyone who enters Dragon Palace will receive the best cultivation materials from Tianzong dynasty. But not everyone can be admitted to Dragon Palace to cultivate. In Tianzong dynasty, it is said that all the people in Dragon Palace are exceptional geniuses. So you can understand that only the strongest geniuses can have the opportunity to cultivate inside Dragon Palace. People with average talent are not qualified at all. Jian Wushuang could not help being stunned. Are all of them geniuses? That was to say, any disciple in Dragon Palace would be respectfully treated as a master in Tianzong dynasty. No wonder it was called the Holy Land. Brother Bulletin, since the qualifications are so harsh, is Dongfang Yu qualified to enter Dragon Palace? Jian Wushuang asked. Of course. Sima Bulletin laughed and said, but not everyone can become a disciple and join Dragon Palace. Firstly, he must be recommended by a Golden Dragon ambassador. Secondly, he has to pass the test arranged by Dragon Palace. As for these two conditions, not everyone can accomplish the first one. Jian Wushuang understood, the first condition was the recommendation from a Golden Dragon ambassador. But what's the status of a Golden Dragon ambassador? It was known to all that the strongest experts of the Gold Core realm, like Sima Bulletin, who had a deep understanding of the blade essence of raging fire, were just a three-clawed Golden Dragon guards. Only the supreme existences could be a Golden Dragon ambassador. That recommendation would be very difficult to get. Zhu Tao has been complaining that his disciple didn't get recommended, but if he really has the talent, there is no need for him to worry about the recommendation. Look at Mr. Huo at the counter. If Dongfang Yu really is a monster class talent, why hasn't Mr. Huo recognized him in all this time? And nobody in Golden Dragon subsidiary palace of Qingdong City except him has the ability to contact a Golden Dragon ambassador. Sima Bulletin sneered and said. Jian Wushuang looked at the grey-robed elder in front of the counter and smiled. Mr. Huo had his eyes narrowed the whole time and would not even look at Dongfang Yu, no matter how much Zhu Tao boasted about him. In fact, Jian Wushuang, if you are willing to work hard in the future, with your talent, there is a chance for you to enter Dragon Palace, Sima Bulletin said. Me? Jian Wushuang shook his head. Having stayed at an inn in the Qingdong city for 3 days, Jian Wushuang went back to the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace after the 3 days' wait. Once Jian Wushuang arrived, he immediately saw many people holding the same wooden token, with the same Golden Dragon mark as him, waiting in the hall. That included Zhu Tao's disciple, Dongfang Yu. So many people. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He just came in and didn't have time to find a place to sit down. Swordsman. A shadow appeared in front of Jian Wushuang, which turned out to be Dongfang Yu. However, Dongfang Yu looked at Jian Wushuang with despise at this moment. How dare you come? Why not? Jian Wushuang asked. You can't even fight with me for 3 blows. You are such a piece of trash. Did you come here to be killed? Dongfang Yu said and laughed. Even if I did, that has nothing to do with you, said Jian Wushuang as he glanced at Dongfang Yu. He didn't want to talk with Dongfang Yu, because Dongfang Yu was just a self-righteous idiot in his eyes. For someone so weak, you shouldn't have such a bad temper, said Dongfang with a sneer. Then, he thought, boy, once the task begins, do not let me find a chance, or... Dongfang remembered clearly that his great master asked him to take down anyone who had something to do with Sima Bulletin. Jian Wushuang sat at a table alone, but not long after, a black-haired man walked towards him. You are Swordsman, right? The man asked, smiling at him and showing great passion. Who are you? Jian Wushuang looked at him and asked the man. I am Ling Tianhao, but you can also call me Mouse. I came here to finish the task to become a one-clawed golden dragon guard, just like you. The man opened his palm, showing a wooden token with the golden dragon mark. Is there something you want? Jian Wushuang asked coldly. Of course. Ling Tianhao looked at Jian Wushuang and asked, is this your first time accepting the task for a one-clawed golden dragon guard? Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. This is my third time. Ling Tianhao sighed and said, my strength was not enough, so I was unable to finish my task the other 2 times, only managing a narrow escape. If I can't finish the third time, I will never become a golden dragon guard. Jian Wushuang fell into silence. He knew that a person could only accept the task for one-clawed golden dragon guard 3 times. If he failed all 3 times, he would never be qualified to become a golden dragon guard. I want to cooperate with you. When the task begins, let's work together. Ling Tianhao said. Oh. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Cooperate. Don't hesitate. Ling Tianhao continued speaking. I know that you fought with Dongfang 3 days ago, and you didn't even last for 3 exchanges. You are one of the weakest out of all the people attempting this task, just like me. So if you work alone, you will be killed before you even have a chance of finishing the task. You are right. I will cooperate with you. Jian Wushuang said and nodded. Haha, that's right. Follow me, I will introduce a backer to you. Ling Tianhao pulled Jian Wushuang along as he left. Backer. Although Jian Wushuang was doubtful, Ling Tianhao brought him to meet a red-haired girl. Chapter 48, The Golden Dragon Ambassador. Boss Yin, this is Brother Swordsman. He will work with us later. Ling Tianhao smiled at the playful girl. Swordsman. The girl looked at Jian Wushuang and said, I know that you fought with Dongfang here 3 days ago, and you didn't last 3 strikes. Yes, that is true. Jian Wushuang touched his nose without denying it. I am Yin Min. You can call me Boss Yin, like Mouse does. From now on, if you work with me, I can guarantee that no one will dare to bully you, said the playful girl, Yin Min, patting her chest. Jian Wushuang thought that Yin Min was just boasting, but he still called out, Boss Yin. Yeah. Yin Min nodded without saying anything further. At that moment, Ling Tianhao said to Jian Wushuang quietly, Brother Swordsman, we are so lucky to have the backup of Boss Yin. Of course, this is because of our relationship with Dongfang. Otherwise, I am afraid that Boss Yin would not help us. Oh? What do you mean? Jian Wushuang asked quickly. Well, maybe you don't know, but that Dongfang is the sworn enemy of Boss Yin. They both also fought each other once. I quickly came to ask for her help after hearing that, and she agreed without any hesitation after knowing about the hatred between me and Dongfang. As for you, Boss Yin would allow you to work with us because many people know that you were defeated by Dongfang in only 3 strikes, Ling Tianhao said. Is there any animosity between you and Dongfang? Jian Wushuang looked at Ling Tianhao. It's just a trivial matter, but I just really don't like Dongfang, Ling Tianhao said. Jian Wushuang was doubtful and asked, is Boss Yin's strength very powerful? Of course, she would not even lose a fight with Dongfang. She is the strongest, aside from Dongfang, among all the people who accepted the task for one-clawed golden dragon guard, Ling Tianhao said. Is that true? It seems that we have found a good backer. Jian Wushuang smiled mysteriously and showed his interest. At that moment, the gray-robed elder in front of the counter, Mr. Huo, came out. Time's up. Now follow me, everyone, Mr. Huo said, leading everyone directly out of the city. After they were out of Qingdong City, Mr. Huo continued to lead everyone, walking in one direction for most of the day without stopping. Mouse, since you have accepted the task for one clawed golden dragon guard twice, do you know where he is leading us to? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know. Ling Tianhao shook his head, then continued speaking, the task from the Golden Dragon Palace is different every time. Only after we arrive at the designated place will we be informed of what the task is. So, we have no choice but to follow him now. What were your previous two tasks? Jian Wushuang continued his questioning. I'm sorry. I can't tell you about the previous tasks, Ling Tianhao said. Why not? Jian Wushuang was puzzled. Because that is the rule of Golden Dragon Palace. Any task from the Golden Dragon Palace is prohibited from being leaked out, and anyone who is found leaking it would likely be executed immediately. Ling Tianhao said seriously, but I can tell you that those two tasks were extremely dangerous. It was only with good luck that I was able to survive because most of the people were dead by the time the tasks were completed. After hearing this, Jian Wushuang wore a serious expression. They continued walking for 2 hours before they arrived at a big valley, where Mr. Huo stopped. Have we arrived? Jian Wushuang and the others looked around, but all they could see was the vast landscape surrounding them and the huge valley. They could not clearly see what was in the valley. Mr. Huo, you are really slow. A cold voice was heard as a lofty shadow appeared in front of them. It came from a middle-aged man who had a long red robe and a cold expression. His eyebrows were able to display majesty without losing his temperament. While holding his hands behind his back, he looked over at everyone present with profound eyes. Everything and everyone fell into complete silence when that man appeared. Jian Wushuang, Dongfang Yu, Yin Min, and everyone else who had accepted the one-clawed golden dragon guard task opened their eyes wide, looking at the man in great shock. Not because of how powerful and awesome his aura was, but because the man was floating in front of them. Yes, floating. Floating in the air. Yin-Yang Void Realm. It's a supreme expert in the Yin-Yang Void Realm. A legendary existence. All the people intently stared at him as he walked through the air. It was evident that the man was a supreme expert who had entered the Yin-Yang Void Realm. The Yin-Yang Void Realm. Jian Wushuang pressed his hands tightly together as his eyes shined brilliantly. The Yin-Yang Void Realm had always been a legend. There were not many experts like him, and it was the first time for Jian Wushuang to see an expert at this level. Golden Dragon Ambassador. Even the enigmatic Mr. Huo showed respect to the man and kept a low profile. Since you are finally here, we can start working, the man standing in the air said in a low voice. As you wish, sir. Mr. Huo nodded continuously. Upon hearing this, the old man turned around and suddenly disappeared from everyone's sight. What speed is that? All these people who had not even reached the primordial gold core realm were stunned when they saw this scene. So fast. Although I am also very fast due to my understanding of the sword essence of Gale, I am just like a snail compared to this golden dragon ambassador, Wushuang thought. A few loud voices came out from the vast valley as soon as the golden dragon ambassador disappeared. Who is that? This is the land of our Tianhuan sect. Who are you? You should leave now. Which expert has come to our Tianhuan sect? The vast valley was the base of the sect. When the golden dragon ambassador was seen intruding into it, a loud warning came out from the valley. But after the expert in that sect learned that the man was a yin-yang void realm expert who could void walk, his tone became very respectful. At this time, a deafening sound was heard in that vast valley. Tianhuan sect? How dare you plot against the Golden Dragon ambassador from our Golden Dragon Palace? Today is the end of your Tianhuan sect. Chapter 49, Extermination. Boom. A severe explosive sound, like one would only hear during doomsday, burst and erupted from within the deep valley, around which a terrifying and horrible aura was simultaneously released. Afterwards, dozens of roars suddenly sounded from inside. Boom. 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 Severe crashes continuously burst out from the depths of the valley, seemingly causing the heavens and earth to tremble. No one knew what was happening there, including Jian Wushuang and others, who stood in astonishment outside the valley. All of them couldn't help holding their breath through the dozens of earth-shaking roars. It was not long before the valley suddenly became tranquil. Whoosh! The middle-aged man with a powerful aura reappeared among them. After glancing at Mr. Huo, he said, "All 14 masters of the Tianhuan sect, in the Gold Core realm, are dead. You know what to do next?" "Yes," Mr. Huo nodded respectfully. "Little guys, try your best," the middle-aged man said as he smiled again at the group and then left in the direction of Qingdong City. All the trainees lost focus as they stared at the middle-aged man. Only after he had completely disappeared did they begin to gradually regain control of their thoughts. Suddenly, Mr. Huo announced, with a muffled voice, "Now I will tell you the task. Listen carefully." All the trainees in the area made sure to listen thoroughly. The core of the Tianhuan sect, a second-rate sect in Tianese province, is located in the valley in front of you. There are 14 masters, who are experts in the Gold Core realm, and many disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm. However, the 14 masters have already been killed by the Golden Dragon ambassador, said Mr. Huo. Everyone was shocked into silence. The 14 experts in the Gold Core realm. In such a short time, they were killed? Amazing. All the expert in the Gold Core realm were killed in such a short time. So powerful, that is true strength. Everyone was so excited and they felt their blood begin to boil, even Jian Wushuang. Though the masters are defeated, there are many disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm and the Spirit Path. The latter ones can be ignored, but you need to obtain the 10 interspatial rings printed with the symbol of the Tianhuan sect. They are worn by the disciples in the Spiritual Sea realm. To succeed, each one of you needs to seize one of those rings. Do you understand? Mr. Huo asked while looking around. All the trainees in the area understood. Only those who obtain one of the interspatial rings will be able to complete the mission, right? This mission doesn't seem so difficult. Someone in the area suddenly murmured. Only 10 interspatial rings, said Yin Min, frowning slightly. This mission is more dangerous than the previous ones. Ling Tianhao couldn't help scolding them. Absolutely dangerous. Jian Wushuang wore a grim expression on his face as he spoke. This mission. To start with, the numerous warriors, in the Spiritual Sea realm, in the sect, would fight with all their power. But more importantly, there were only 10 rings and over 30 trainees present. Yet, one ring could only be used by one trainee. In other words, over 2/3 of the trainees were doomed to fail. And, those who failed to obtain an interspatial ring, in order to complete the mission, would have to fight with the other trainees. It could also be said that they should pay equal attention to both the Spiritual Sea realm disciples in the Tianhuan sect as well as the other trainees from their side. Mr. Huo said, "Now that you know the mission, it's time to get started. Let's go. Kill." The trainees that were already prepared immediately rushed towards the valley. Jian Wushuang and his companions quickly rushed out as well. Whoosh! After leaping rapidly across the ground, 3 people quickly came into view of the great sect gate in the middle of the valley. The Tianhuan sect fell into a panic and loud noises could be heard from every corner. "Both of you stay close to me. If you move too far away, it's quite possible that you will lose your lives," said Yin Min, glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao. Okay, said Jian Wushuang, with a nod. Understood. Ling Tianhao also answered and nodded, with a grim expression. Hey, Yin Min, it's rare for you to look so serious, right? A voice was suddenly heard. Then, Dongfang Yu appeared with his 5 followers behind him. Yin Min disdained him and said nothing. Dongfang Yu didn't lose his temper. Glancing at Jian Wushuang and Ling Tianhao, he laughed and then said, Yin Min, look at your 2 companions. One is joining the One-Clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission for the 3rd time and the other was defeated by me within less than 3 moves. You actually dared to team up with these 2. This has nothing to do with you. Piss off. Yin Min directly scolded him. Dongfang Yu's expression became quite serious, but he quickly recovered. Ignoring Yin Min, he turned his eyes towards Jian Wushuang, laughing at him as he said, Hey, kid, watch out for your life during this dangerous mission. After all, trash like you can easily die inside the Tianhuan sect. Then Dongfang Yu and his followers quickly rushed inside the Tianhuan sect. What? Jian Wushuang thought. He watched with a weird expression as Dongfang Yu left. At the Golden Dragon subsidiary palace, I didn't want to risk being noticed by people from Bloodfeather Tower. Because of that, I pretended to lose. But I didn't expect him to look down on me so much. Jian Wushuang touched his nose and shook his head with a smile. Then, he immediately raced towards the Tianhuan sect together with Yin Min and Ling Tianhao. The moment they stepped into the Tianhuan sect, the warriors in the sect sensed their arrival. Damn, people from the Golden Dragon Palace came to exterminate my Tianhuan sect. Keep dreaming. I grew up in the Tianhuan sect. My whole life is here. If you plan to destroy my sect, you will have to step over my dead body first. Kill them. Kill them. Kill all the invaders. Stay with the sect. Many loud roars could be heard in the Tianhuan sect. They had cultivated many loyal warriors. Though the 14 experts of the Gold Core realm were dead, the warriors and disciples in the spiritual sea realm chose to stay with the sect and fight for it, instead of escaping. Therefore, numerous disciples in the spiritual sea realm, from the Tianhuan sect, madly rushed towards the invaders. A violent fight was about to erupt. Chapter 50, Slaughter. The large group of trainees who had accepted the mission immediately split up after entering the Tianhuan sect. Some teamed up while others began rampaging alone. The disciples of the Tianhuan sect also rose up in resistance. Jian Wushuang and his companions had just arrived in one of the yards in the Tianhuan sect when they saw tens of shadows charging at them, all of them in the spiritual sea realm. You two, follow me closely. Yin Min ordered coldly. Gripping her scarlet long spear, she immediately dashed forward. Jian Wushuang nodded at Ling Tianhao and followed Yin Min, his expression a little cold. Invaders. The sight of these 3 instantly triggered the killing intent of the Tianhuan sect disciples. Kill them. Tens of shadows rushed toward them. Swish. A blurry spear shadow charged towards them, like a viper sticking out its tongue at its prey. For a moment, the lightning fast spear seemed to create an environment in which snowflakes were gently falling. It gave the spear a poignant feeling. Slash, 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 slash. The spear pierced 5 necks at once, leaving 5 corpses collapsed on the ground. This skill. Jian Wushuang couldn't help being surprised when he saw this. These disciples of the Tianhuan sect were only in the initial and profound spiritual sea realm. So it was not hard for Yin Min, in the exceptional spiritual sea realm, to kill them. But it was so much more difficult to kill 5 with one strike. What Yin Min demonstrated earlier caused his eyes to light up. Kill. The death of their fellow disciples didn't slow down the remaining ones. They rushed forward and launched a series of attacks towards Jian Wushuang and his companions. Jian Wushuang swung the triple kill sword in his hand at 2 disciples. With 2 clean slashes, he easily ended the lives of the two, who were only in the initial spiritual sea realm. Holding his dark dagger, Ling Tianhao quietly stabbed the disciples charging at him. He was incredibly fast in killing two of them. The rest were all killed by Yin Min. It took mere moments for the tens of Tianhuan sect disciples to meet their death. They're too weak. Jian Wushuang could not help sighing when he saw all the dead bodies on the ground. The Tianhuan sect was considered a second-rate sect in the Tianese province, yet it was far more powerful than Sword Marquis Mansion. But after the deaths of their 14 gold core realm experts, the ending was basically written in stone. The remaining disciples were all in the spiritual sea realm, with the majority in the initial and profound level. Rarely were any of them at the exceptional level. Unfortunately for them, those who accepted this mission were all at the exceptional level. They also possessed their own personal techniques. After all, anyone who accepted this mission despite knowing its extreme danger would certainly come prepared. Ling Tianhao, for example, might be one of the weakest among the participants who accepted the mission. But if you put him among the Tianhuan sect disciples who were at the exceptional spiritual sea realm, few could defeat him. None of the people I killed has an interspatial ring. What about you guys? Yin Min asked, looking over at them. None here. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Me, neither. Ling Tianhao shrugged. This didn't come as a big surprise to them. After all, there were only a total of 10 rings. For how precious and rare they were, they ought to be at least worn by disciples in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. And none of those that they killed were at that level. Let's go, Yin Min said. The three of them then walked toward the depths of the Tianhuan sect. They did not even glance at the corpses on the ground. Though they felt sympathy for the Tianhuan sect disciples, they would never show any mercy in a fight. After all, they were on different sides. If they showed mercy, then the corpses lying on the ground would be theirs. Inside an underground secret room in the Tianhuan sect, there were 8 people wearing robes standing inside the room, wearing copper masks that only showed their eyes. A person wearing a black robe and a silver mask sat on a stone chair. Thud. The door to the secret room opened and a purple-haired old man came running in, panicking. He shouted anxiously, "Please, my lords. I beg you, help save our Tianhuan sect." The one wearing a silver mask looked up, revealing his pair of cold eyes as he looked at the purple-haired old man. He said indifferently, "What's going on outside?" "They're here. Men from Golden Dragon Palace are here. There are many warriors in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. Not only that, our leader and many of our elders are already dead. We don't have a single expert in the gold core realm that is still alive. We simply can't hold up against those warriors, so please help us." The old man didn't even finish his sentence before he collapsed on the ground with a blood stain on his neck. Beside him, a man wearing a copper mask was slowly sheathing his sword. "My lord, what should we do next?" a copper mask servant asked. 3 years ago, the Tianhuan sect leaked some information, scheming against a Golden Dragon ambassador. It was supposed to be a secret, but it was still discovered by the Golden Dragon Palace. Their intelligence work is truly amazing. The man with the silver mask continued coldly, "Since it has been discovered, the Tianhuan sect is bound to be exterminated. As for us, naturally it's best if we can avoid exposing ourselves. Those who were sent here now are only in the exceptional spiritual sea realm. If I estimate correctly, they're part of a one-clawed Golden Dragon Guard mission. Those rookies may not even discover this place if we stay here. And if they really do end up finding us, the Golden Dragon Ambassador would already be gone by then. Without the Golden Dragon Ambassador hindering us, it's impossible for those rookies to stand in our way." They were all afraid of the Golden Dragon Ambassador, who was in the Yin-Yang Void realm. The man with the silver mask was not an exception. When the Golden Dragon Ambassador was fighting with others, he did not discover them because the robed men were good at hiding their auras and were hidden in this secret room. In his opinion, the high and mighty Golden Dragon Ambassador would no be so bored as to stay back and watch the rookies wrap up the mission after he finished killing all the Gold Core Realm experts. But what a pity that the extermination of the Tianhuan sect means we've lost a chess piece. The man wearing the silver mask shook his head and sighed. The black robe and that facial mask. They were obvious symbols of Blood Feather Tower, the strongest assassination association of the Tianzong dynasty.